which one was worse from your perspective? Was it the being set 300, being set 400 against South Africa and falling ridiculously short, or just absolutely collapsing today against Sri Lanka?
That's a
It's a
hard
tough
question.
question.
That's a
Yeah,
that's a
it
hard
is.
that's a really hard
It is.
question. I don't know. I actually don't think I know what's worse, to be honest. Because they're bad in two different ways. The 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 game against South Africa. Well, actually, in both games, there were moments right at the start where we looked all right. Today we were 45 for none, and then we only got about
Mm.
100 more runs for 10 wickets, which is great. And and then and then in the South Africa game, you forget that we got Quinton de Kock out in the first over. It went 4 wicket.
Yep.
You kind of forget about that. Um, and we started off all right. The turning point, to an extent, was when Topley went off injured, and obviously it's a real disappointment that he won't be taking any more part in the tournament. Um, and I think the heat starts to get to the players a little bit. There's been so much discussion about the toss and the choice to bowl first when it's basically on fire outside. And it does seem to have cost us at that point. But I don't think you can take anything away from how destructive that South African batting lineup is, because they got 400 odd against us, and then they basically went and did the same thing again in the next game as well. Was it Bangladesh they just destroyed and dismantled? Yeah, it was, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it
So
was. Yeah.
I mean, I think Bangladesh, South Africa are obviously a team that will be very, very competent at getting a lot of runs in this tournament, whoever they're playing. But we I and I think this is the same against Sri Lanka, and it's quite similar in the loss to Afghanistan and New Zealand. Is that we kind of have looked a little bereft of ideas, and things started to go drastically wrong, particularly in that last 10 overs against South Africa. And we had no response, just absolutely no response. The ball was sailing here, there, and everywhere, and we had absolutely no response. And today against Sri Lanka, we didn't seem to have a response to the collapse. There was multiple poor dismissals, Bairstow, Moeen, people you expect a little bit better of because of the amount of games they've played, the amount of experience they have, the context of the fact that this is a really important game for England. Yeah, they've just looked a little bereft of ideas. Have you got anything that you kind of on that front of like what you can take as an assessment from these two pretty disappointing games for England?
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of we would as soon as they were getting up past 350 South Africa, you just thought, I just don't. Even 2 games ago, I just didn't have confidence in our batting line of being able to get there, and I think it is frustrating. As you said, we did dismiss Quinton de Kock with the second ball of the innings, but then you look at the scorecard there. Pretty much every other batter who's come in, apart from like a couple at the tail end, have either made a start, made a 50, or made 100. And it's that's the kind of thing where they had a disappointing start, but then they're sort of like, the rest of their top order and their middle order kind of stepped up to the mark. And obviously, we're used to seeing England do that.
Mm.
We're used to seeing that when the wickets start to fall, for example, today, as you said, we were 45 for none after 6 overs, which is a really good start in a 50 over match. It was solid. It almost looked like we'd learnt the lessons what had been punishing us earlier in the tournament, and then it was like going back to England of old, and before the whole, before the kind of red and white ball kind of revolutions, and we lost a wicket, and then it was just complete chaos.
Mm.
And apart from Ben Stokes, who came in, he got 40 off 70, he stuck around a bit, and everyone's kind of thinking, oh, is Stokes gonna save us again? Which he's
I
done it.
mean,
He's got a track record. He's
that's the
done it a few
thing.
times.
And you kind of wonder whether it's a little bit built into this ethos now. This England team is, oh, it's all right. Don't worry, Stokes is still there. We'll get past 200 because he's there. You kind of worry if that's in their minds a little bit now. You hope it's
Yeah,
not,
and
but
well, I found myself thinking that exact same thing, and I was like,
yeah,
all right, if we get to 200, you know, Sri Lanka's batting lineup, it had a good start, but they are prone to an absolute collapse.
mm,
200 might actually, you know, almost be competitive in this kind of game. Um, but I mean, by the time Stokes went, 137 for eight, I mean, getting 150 was going to be, a bit of a success, and obviously, we just about got there. But it's just, yeah, it just feels like we've got so much talent in that team, so much like ODI experience, and a lot of those players are World Cup winners. You got to remember this, that we are the holders. It doesn't feel like it, and
no,
you know, I think we were talking about this with some of our mates earlier in a group chat where it might be one of the worst ever defense of a world tournament by a sports team in any sport because to come off the back of a ridiculously good World Cup campaign 4 years ago to then losing four of your first five in the next tournament is just, I mean,
not even against India, Australia. Again, two of those have been teams that we might have expected to beat
yeah,
in well, certainly in 2019. I know we lost to Sri Lanka in 2019, but we would have expected going into this tournament to have got points against Sri Lanka and Afghanistan.
yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's an interesting point on Sri Lanka because I came across another one of these stats where we've the last sort of 4 or 5 World Cups we've lost to Sri Lanka, and I knew it had been the last couple, but I was thinking back and like I'd looked through and it's like yeah, because I remember when I think it was in like 2011 where I think we had them in it was a knockout game and they absolutely destroyed us. Like I think they beat us. We only set them about 270, and they beat us by 9 wickets.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, that
absolutely
was
wiped the floor with us.
New Zealand, wasn't it, when they
Yeah,
ripped us apart.
it
They
was.
beat
Yeah,
us, and then
but
Malinga destroyed us in 2019, and we kind of destroyed ourselves in 2023, really.
that's the thing. I mean, Sri Lanka they're a bit of a team in transition. Really. They do have a lot of younger players, and I think they are improving. I mean, there's no mistakes. There's no discounting that because they are a good team. But as you said, I mean, we did it to ourselves. I
Mm.
mean, the amount of wickets and I mean, the Rashid run out. I mean,
Oh man, it was
the
the
camera,
dopiest thing I've ever seen.
the camera couldn't keep up with that. Like,
No.
the camera cuts and you see Sri Lankan players celebrating, and you kind of look around going, "What the hell's just happened?" And then you see what's happened, and it's like, oh, if that's not a team low on confidence doing things like that, I mean, okay, Rashid's he's not a batsman, but the experience he's got is just, those sorts of things shouldn't be happening.
No, no. Someone on TMS, I think, said that this is it's kind of like almost an epitome of what has happened in the England campaign in this World Cup, wrapped up there in one. And they were absolutely spot on. It was just dopey. It was not switched on. It was just not at the races. And yeah, I mean, Joe Root's run out quite similar. I don't think there was ever a run there. He's hit the ball into the floor to a packed offside field and basically to a man where it's bounced up and able to throw back. It's never a run there. I like I don't know where this decision making has come from. You're right. They're world champions for now. It's it's just seems so strange. And who saw this coming? That's the strange thing, is that like I know the preparation hasn't been great, but no one saw this coming. Surely.
No, I mean, I don't know. In that first game against New Zealand, I kind of got a bit of an impression that there was like complacency creeping in,
Mm,
and it's like there shouldn't be, because I mean, we know only too well how good of a 50 over team New Zealand are, and they've gone on to they've only lost to India, and like we've said before in these podcasts, you know, we can quite easily see India not putting a foot wrong in this tournament because they're ruthless. So why there would have been any complacency, I don't understand. But I mean, in this case, I mean, South Africa was always going to be a very very tough game. You know, they are flying. They've got some very good informed players, and they've got about 6 or 7 players who are clicking and in really good form at the same time, which which is a good recipe for success. With England, it's a case of you look at that batting lineup, and the talent's there, the runs are there. We know they're there. We've seen them score runs for years in some cases, and for one reason or another, it's just not happened at this World Cup. And I think it's the sort of thing where you can't just sort of brush it off and say we'll go again. I think there does need to be a genuine sort of inquest into just what the hell's gone wrong. Because as you said, to go from World Cup champions, winning lots of ODI games, to then being played off the park in 4 out of 5 matches, something's wrong. Something is really, really wrong for it to go so bad so quickly.